I would like to show you another game from the book Chess GPS Improvement. In the beginning, Grandmaster Palatnik says the improvement is the improvement of a position based on staying its positional element. What we see in here is a collection of games in which there is an isolated queen pawn. The queen pawn is pushed, and when it's pushed, generally white wins. This game is Palatnik versus Ochotnik, played in Odessa, 1977. Obviously, there is at least 18 moves that have no annotation at all, because the Grandmaster wants to show us the idea of this isolated pawn, how you win with the isolated pawn. d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5, and here we have the Grunfeld defense, right? c takes d5, knight takes d5, e4, knight takes c3, b takes c3, bishop g7, knight f3, castle, bishop e2, b6, so black is trying to control and to develop the bishop on this side, and so the fight for the center is from far, right? Castle, bishop b7, queen d3, c5 is attacking the center, bishop g5, bishop a6, queen e3, c takes d4, c takes d4, bishop takes e2, and queen takes e2. Knight c6, finally black is finishing the development. Rook a d1, h6, bishop e3, e6, and now there is d5, e takes d5, e takes d5, and knight a5. So we are at this point, right? What would you play if you were white? Now, if you have seen the many games by Grandmaster Palatnik, you know the answer. And if you don't have seen the many games, you know the answer also from this book, because we saw at least a couple of games in which this theme continuously happens, right? The thing is, in the book, the move is not in bold, and that should be, right? Here you can see it, that the move is not in bold, while the black move it is. So that's kind of a mistake. d6, queen d7, because obviously you need to stop that pawn and control the square in front, right? Rook d5, rook a c8, queen d3, rook c3, queen d1, rook c6, bishop f4 supporting the pawn d6, queen g4. Now, what do you think white played again? Because here in this book I think a mistake was that they didn't have exercises. They should have put some exercises or at the end of these 3 volumes, they should have created a 4th volume, a workbook of exercises, so one can understand if he got the idea that were given in these example games or not. Okay, so if you pause the video and want to know how the game continue, again, once more, d7, rook d8, bishop g3, rook c5, rook c5, h3, queen e6, rook d3. And now there is a typical move that would make sense if black's pawn were a little more advanced, but in my opinion this move brings the queen away from the area where the fight is. Queen takes a2. Obviously is not considered bad, but to me it is, because you have wasted the tempo to go out of the game. You will have to use the tempo to return back, right? Rook e1, taking away the e6 square for the retreat. Knight b7, rook e8, king h7, knight e5, and queen b2. And here there is another diagram. So when there is a diagram, we know, or at least you should know by now, that it's a good idea to pause and think what you would play next, okay? White played knight takes f7, and it seems black continued with, as you can imagine, rook c1. But the right move wasn't rook c1, but it seems it was this. Rook takes d7. Let's see why. Rook takes d7, rook c1, queen takes c1, queen takes c1 check, king h2, knight c5 attacking, and it seems that here at this point there is a checkmate in 4. Okay, now can you pause the video and find out how white can give checkmate in 4 moves? I suggest you to pause the video and try. Okay, it's a good exercise. Well, obviously it's rook h8, bishop take h8, right? Knight g5, check, king g8, rook d8, king g7, and now you have bishop e5, checkmate. So this is a beautiful finish. Let's see, instead of rook takes d7, what happened in the game, okay? Because it seems it also ended in a few moves. Let me bring back the position to what it was. Okay, I put the position correctly. At this point, white played knight takes f7, and instead of rook takes d7, black played rook c1, knight takes d8, knight c5, knight e6, knight takes d3, queen takes c1, queen takes c1, check, king h2, and here there is another diagram. knight takes f2, bishop takes f2, bishop e5, g3, queen d2, and now you have a final move of the game, which is rook e7. Why did black resigned? That's your question, right? Well, I think it's simple, because white is winning. What can he do if he goes here, here? So I don't see how black can prevent that from becoming a queen. You need to exchange, but once you exchange, white has a rook and a knight advantage, which are more than enough to stop those pawns, right? So that's the reason. And next, there is another game played in 1977, always by Palatnik, but this time as black. I hope you enjoyed this game that we found in the chess GPS about improvement.